The United States military is tasked with deterring and defending against a myriad of futuristic threats from adversaries whose technical prowess has advanced dramatically in the 21st century across all domains, perhaps most eye-openingly in the realms of space and hypersonic missile capability. I'm Guy Taylor, National Security Editor at the Washington Times, and for this edition of the Threat Status Influencer Series, we're in Huntsville, Alabama at the 2025 Space and Missile Defense Symposium, and we're lucky to be joined by Lieutenant General Sean Gainey, the Commanding General of the U.S. Army Space and Missile Defense Command and the Joint Functional Component Command for Integrated Missile Defense. He's among the most seasoned American military leaders. Lieutenant General Gainey, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, guy. Thanks for having me here.
Let's jump right into this. We're here at this vast symposium where some of the most advanced technology is on display at a moment when wheels are turning around President Trump's order for the establishment of next-generation missile defense. When people think about the U.S. Army, they don't necessarily think about space and missile defense. Can you help us unpack what the Army's role is here, or how the Army's role intersects with the future of space and missile defense?
Yeah, the Army's role in air and missile defense has grown significantly over the years. In the space realm, there's probably some getting used to when you speak Army and space, but when you speak air defense and space, we have been leading the way with our capabilities. You know, air and missile defense is a joint problem set, but the Army has really taken on the lead when it comes to capability. So if you look at what we're doing with our Army Patriot system, recent engagements in theater, our Army THAAD system, recent engagements inside of Israel, and the Patriot system being prevalent across several different countries has shown that, you know, the Army's leading the way when it comes to missile defense.
What about space?
Space also, our Army is doing significant work inside of space. Again, there's often a lot of confusion of, hey, there's a Space Force, there's Space Command, and then how does Army space fit into all of that? And, you know, Army as the consumer of space more than probably any service, it makes sense for the Army to have capabilities to be able to protect our space capabilities, to enable our maneuver on the battlefield, enable our precision fires, and to also enable our communication over the horizon and long distances. So space fits perfectly in the Army's close fight.
The technology, both U.S. technology, but also adversarial technology in missile offensive capability and defensive capability, and just in space in general, is rapidly advancing. What are the biggest changes that you're seeing from your unique perch in terms of how the Army approaches space and missile defense?
Yeah, specifically in SMDC, we've taken on for the Army, writing our Army Air and Missile Defense Strategy for 2040. And we're defining it as a new missile age, just as you highlight the technology, the complexity that's being used, the rapid evolution of drone warfare is all making it a complicated environment to defend against these several different type of threats. But along with our strategy, we're looking at how do you not only leverage technology and improvement of technology, but also how do you look at other ways to get after missile defense. For example, right now we focus a lot on active defense with our active sensors and shooters, but we believe we have to leverage also missile defeat in totality, being able to go after supply chains, the stockpile before it's even shot, to reduce the number of interceptors that we have to engage on a battlefield. Because if you see some of the recent conflicts in either Ukraine and Israel, the mass that's being shot by the threat and the ability to continue to generate interceptors one for one is very difficult in a protracted conflict. And so the ability to attrit the enemy's stockpile is going to be important and part of the strategy moving forward.
Well, let's stay on this advancing technology for a second. Things may be about to change even more in terms of technological advancement in the coming years. What do you see on the horizon for Army space and missile defense now? Is there a particular aspect of modernization that is game-changing?
exciting times for the Army, specifically when you talk air and missile defense. We are moving forward with our most aggressive modernization plan in probably the last 40 years, where we're taking our command and control element, which is called our integrated battle command system, also short-termed as IBCS. And IBCS is going to allow us the ability to integrate any sensor in any shooter into our architecture, take the most advanced radars, take the most advanced interceptors, and provide the operator with the ability to use a mix of those systems to get after the appropriate threat. And so as we move forward in that area, that IBCS is also going to be able to integrate the joint partners. So if there's an aircraft flying around with a radar, it'll be able to integrate into the integrated battle command system moving forward. And then if you look at space, incredible opportunities for space. And, as the commander of space and missile defense, I'm able to integrate space assets with missile defense assets to synergize those effects. So if you look at what we're doing in space from an early warning ability and the ability to take space satellite data and feed it directly to our sensors to provide tipping and queuing has come a long way over the years.
It sounds like what you're saying dovetails with what the Space Force is kind of calling space superiority or space control. Am I right? And
a little bit different.
Where's the Army's role in backing or leading on space, this concept of space control?
Yeah, so when you look at space control, and if you talk with General Whiting, the SpaceCom commander, he'll highlight every service should have space control capability because every service has service requirements, and the Army is no different. The Army has close fight requirements to be able to disaggregate the enemy, disaggregate the enemy's long-range precision fires, and provide the ability for the Army to be able to communicate and move under concealment. Now it comes down to having space control capabilities at the tactical edge of the warfighting.
Let's try to come down now to maybe a few hundred feet.
Okay.
You brought up drone warfare. You also mentioned Ukraine and Israel a couple of times. The character of war is changing. Missile defense has become more in demand. What lessons have you taken from Israel and Ukraine and how these conflicts are playing out technically?
Yeah, as I highlighted earlier, as we developed the Army Air and Missile Defense Strategy for 2040, we really looked closely at the lessons learned inside of Ukraine and Israel. Along with the mass that you highlighted of the drone warfare, we also looked at the complexity of the fight. Where now air and missile defense assets are being hunted on the battlefield. They're applying ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and drones simultaneously and timing them to be able to overwhelm the operator and confuse the operator. So that's the most significant change we're seeing on the battlefield, and our integrated battle command system is really how we're focused with our modernization to be able to get after that complexity.
So with regard to counter-drone capabilities, this is a hot topic in Washington right now, of course, but also in the legislature, there are a few lawmakers that are really focused on it, but also this transformation of offensive drone strategies, integrating with missiles. Are you satisfied that the tech that's coming out of the U.S. defense industrial base now is advanced enough to outpace or outcompete U.S. adversaries?
I believe that we are keeping pace and in some areas outpacing threat, but there's a lot of work that has to continue to be done, and in the ability to integrate that technology with our path forward is what we're pushing industry to get after. The threat is evolving quickly, and they're able to evolve in some cases because of the cheapness of drone warfare and the difficulty of detecting these drones and putting mass fires on these drones. But industry's responding, whether it's high-powered microwave, directed energy. There's several different technologies that they've presented to the department, and we're pursuing those technologies. It's just a matter of how quickly can we maturate that technology to put it in a soldier's hand to where it's light, mobile, and sustainable in a conflict type environment. And that's where we're at right now, more of taking that technology and putting it into the soldiers, operators' hands to where they can use it in the fight and on the battlefield.
I've got a couple more,
Okay.
maybe going deeper into some of the things you mentioned. You mentioned this idea of missile defeat. First of all, what is that?
Yes.
In as layman terms as possible, and how is it really tied to U.S. homeland defense?
Yeah, missile defeat is a strategy, and it's actually outlined in the executive order that came out on defending the homeland as a necessity as part of it. Missile defeat is essentially taking the concept of not only looking at active defense. Active defense is where we apply our sensors and shooters to defeat the threat. Missile defense has really three components. You have passive defense, where you attempt to conceal your assets, harden your area to protect it from damage if things do get through your systems. And then you have passive concealment, and then your offensive attack piece. Now, the offensive attack piece has been expanded. You traditionally think of we shoot missiles or we send aircraft to try to trick their capability on the ground as part of the holistic depletion of assets. But it's also taken even a step further. How do you potentially impact the supply chain in other areas to apply pressure on the threat to reduce the load of their interceptors? And so when you're actually in a fight, you're not facing as many threat missiles or drones in the fight.
You also talked about prioritizing getting new equipment into the hands of soldiers all the way down at the ground level. Why is that so important?
Chief of Staff of the Army has coined the phrase transformation in contact. And that's his way of pushing the acquisition to move faster. So the sooner you can get capability in the soldier's hand in prototyping phase to where it's safe for the soldier to use and may not be fully maturated to the objective system, let the soldier provide feedback to industry and the requirements writer and drive how do we want this capability to move forward. So you're not waiting till 5 years down the road and you have a system, then you give it to the soldier and the warfighter and they said, oh, we probably don't need this, we probably don't need that, and end up putting it somewhere where it's not leveraged. Give it to them early and let them say, hey, change this, better operator interface, adjust that. Now make those changes and bring it back to me while you're developing the system. Is the way we're moving forward in the Army, and we believe that's going to bring us better capability, faster capability, meeting the soldiers' need on the ground.
Lieutenant General Sean Gainey, so interesting, so insightful. Thank you for joining me for this edition of the Threat Status Influencer Series, and thank you for your service.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
I'm Guy Taylor. Until next time.